Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. My name is AJ. I'm here to talk about a number of issues today. First issue I'm going to be talking about is a couple of Ukrainian refugees. Well, actually, there's about, I believe, 114 of them, which are being made homeless in Britain because they have been kicked out by their hosts. I'm going to be discussing that. And another story which just came out, breaking news, is about a British national which has been killed in Ukraine and another one that's gone missing. So before I start talking about these news stories and I'll give you my opinions, I wanted to ask you for a favor. If you can kindly press the like button and also subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Don't forget to comment, don't forget to share if you can. Anything you can to help promote the channel and help with the algorithm. I really appreciate it. If you really want to support me on a personal level, you're welcome to join my Patreon, and you're also welcome to buy me a coffee. I have exclusive content in there. I'm going to also have some exclusive content in there. For example, my funny parody videos where I make fun out of all geopolitical events that's happening around the world with my different accents that I have. And also any other videos which YouTube doesn't allow me to upload, anything sensitive about the war or Ukraine or anything related to the war which is too hot for YouTube. So you'll have very much uncut videos on there as well. So anyway, without further ado, let's carry on with the show. So let's start with this hilarious story about how a Ukrainian refugee has been left homeless after the UK host demanded bill money. So let me read this article to you and I'll give you my opinions afterwards. A Ukrainian refugee has been left homeless just days after moving in with a host in Brighton who demanded money from her to pay for utility bills. And also, I'm going to tell you this as well. A Department for Levelling Up, Housing and Community source said it was not acceptable for the host to demand money from the Ukrainian guests. Host can claim £350 from a government fund to cover the cost of housing Ukrainian refugees. So, her name is Olha. She moved in with her host who had registered with the government's Home for Ukraine scheme, but she was told to leave when she was unable to pay the money her host demanded. And the government has said this basically. The government's Home for Ukraine scheme has been badly put together. Amongst its flaws is the fact that there's no mechanism for councils to transfer a Ukrainian guest to an alternative sponsor when something like this happened, she said. So now we come to the juicy bit. At first, Olha thought she would get along well with her host. She provided her with an evening meal when she arrived, but told her she would be expected to provide her own food after that, which is fair enough. But as soon as the host started demanding money, and Olha said it was costing her a lot in utility bills, she contacted the utility companies, asked them how much she has spent that week, and she told me that since I have arrived, the bill have gone up a lot, and I needed to pay her £50 a week for energy bills. She said if I didn't want to pay, then I had to leave, said Olha. And I felt so upset. I thought it would be better for me to stay at home in Ukraine so I wouldn't experience anything like this. And she left her host's home and managed to find someone from a local church who offered her to stay for a few days. I'm in a very difficult situation because my family are still in Ukraine. My brother is a soldier and my mother refused to leave. I've received contradictory information about what I should do next. I do not want to scare other Ukrainians who are coming here, but what's happened to me is very dreadful. It caused me so much stress and made me feel totally unsafe. My host told me I needed to go, but where should I go? I have only just arrived in UK. So I'll give you my views, guys. This is going to happen to every single Ukrainian coming to UK. And you can see, according to government data, 6,600 people have arrived in UK as part of the Ukrainian sponsorship scheme. And there's another article here which shows that there are about 114 Ukrainians who are left homeless as you can see here, in a survey published last week, the LGA has said 57 councils have been approached by a total of 144 Ukrainian households who have become homeless after arriving under the schemes. I am sorry to say, but this is a rising issue in UK right now, and this has only just started. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And you can see a huge amount of Ukrainian refugees becoming homeless in UK because all of these schemes that the government has given for £350, £350 a month is not going to cover the bills. And you can see here, as soon as the host started demanding money and said Olha was costing her a lot in utility bills, these British people don't really have a clue. Seriously, they don't have a clue. Not only are they retarded getting all of these Ukrainians into their house. I mean, these Ukrainians, first of all, could be neo-Nazis or Nazis themselves, or even the Nazis' wives. And as of militants' wives and kids, you just don't know who you're going to have around your house. And not only that, you're expected to keep them in your house for free. You're expected to feed them. And look at this article. Look at this line here. At first, Olha thought things would go very well with her host. So let's look at this in more detail, shall we? Look at the first line here. At first, Olha thought things would go very well with her host. Obviously, she thought that. She thought, yeah, I've come to England. I'm living here for free. I don't have to pay any rent. I don't have to pay for any food. This woman is going to cook me some food every night. And look at the next line here. She provided her with an evening meal when she arrived, which is nice of her, but immediately told her she would be expected to provide her own food after that. So immediately the host said, okay, hang on a second. I can't be housing you and feeding you every single day. So you got to make sure you bring your own food and you have your own food, which is fair enough because you're not really adopting a kid, are you? This is like adopting a Ukrainian. You're expected to house them and feed them, look after them. Well, it isn't like that, but I bet all of these Ukrainians feel they are privileged to have a service like that. So this woman said, okay, this meal is for free, but you gotta provide for your own meals. And this causes two problems. First of all, if she has to cook her own meals, obviously she's gonna have to use a lot more gas. And you can see with the next line here, Olha was costing her a lot in utility bills. So I can imagine if she has to cook for her own meals, obviously she's using more gas. If she's having 1 or 2 showers a day, she's obviously using more gas there. And if it's a flat, then sometimes a lot of these flats, they don't have gas, they just have electricity. So she'll be in her room, she'll be on a computer or her mobile, using up energy basically. And extra person in a house uses a lot of energy, and I'll tell you right now, £350 is not going to cut it, at all. So this woman must have looked at her bills, and you can see with this line here, energy bills have gone up a lot, so I needed to pay her £50 a week for energy bills, which is understandable really if you think about it. If the woman only gets £350 a month and her electricity bills are coming up to say £550 or £600, then she asked the Ukrainian lady to pay for the difference, which is not a bad thing to do. She can just say, look, my electricity bills have come up to £500 or £600 a month, and you need to pay me £50 a week, which is £200. And so if she's getting £350 a month from the council and she has a bill for £550, then obviously there's a £200 difference. So she said, give me £50 a week, which is £200 a month, and you can stay here, which is perfectly understandable, which is perfectly legitimate. You can't expect a host not only house you, feed you, pay for extra bills. And a lot of these people in England, they are very stupid. They don't really think about things like that, because I don't have any sympathy for her anyway. I mean, she put herself in this situation. And then she realized that, she can't afford her. It's really, really expensive. And, £350 doesn't cut it. and then she asked the Ukrainian lady to leave. And I can imagine a lot of British people doing that. You know, British people are really suffering in UK right now. They are struggling to make ends meet. They don't even know whether to keep warm or whether to eat. You know, they can't even, they're just one paycheck away from being bankrupt or losing their home. People are really struggling at the moment. The cost of living has gone up so high. And official inflation numbers is about 8.5%, but it is much higher, because if you look at cost of goods in a supermarket and compare it to last month and compare it to last year, you will find that some of the goods have gone up by over 20%. The gas bills, electricity bills have gone up, the petrol prices have gone up, your mortgage rates have gone up. Now you have to pay more taxes as well, your national insurance, so every time you work, you pay more taxes as well. So everything has gone up. Literally, people have no money left. And now they're asking British people to adopt a Ukrainian. And I must admit, a lot of stupid British people have kind of put their hands up and said, yeah, I'll adopt a Ukrainian, and I'll bring them to my house, I'll look after them. But as soon as things get really difficult, and these Ukrainians, there's a story about Ukrainians coming in with their pets and dogs and cats as well, and as soon as reality slaps them hard in the head, and the reality is, you know, look at the bills, how much more expensive keeping these Ukrainians are, and £350 from the government doesn't really cut it. And then you also look at, you know, some of these Ukrainians who come with pets. Those pets are going to destroy your home. And some of these Ukrainians have so many kids to feed as well. So £350 is per household, by the way. It's not per person. So if you have one family, one woman with 7 kids, for example, you know, you still get £350. It's not £350 times 8 or times 7. You know, it's £350 per household. So your bills, looking after one woman and 7 kids, your bills can come up to £2,000 or £3,000, but you're expected to pay for that. So the reality is, a lot of these British people don't really think, and you got to admit that a lot of British people who actually admit these Ukrainians, they're not in a capacity to think in the first place. Obviously, if they're stupid enough to do this, then you know they're not stupid enough to think logically. So a lot of British people who probably were gunning for like looking after Ukrainian in the first few months, and a lot of them probably are realizing that they've been lied to by the government. And I'm sure a lot of British people who at first were very anti-Putin and anti-Russia and pro-Ukrainian, and a lot of British people are looking at the situation, looking at alternative news sites, looking at YouTube channels like myself and others as well, looking at George Galloway, looking at the Duran, and they're realizing they've been lied to by the government, and they've been made to look like idiots. And I'm pretty sure a lot of them are changing their minds. Word does spread in England, because a lot of people do socialize in England. They go to the pubs and they talk about it, and I'm pretty sure they will be exchanging stories, nightmare stories about Ukrainians living in the house and what they're up to, or how bad they are, and how many showers they have in a day, how much food they're eating a day, how much electricity bills are. And it's a nightmare. It's going to be an absolute nightmare for some people. Absolute nightmare. And the government hasn't really thought about this. And they haven't thought about what's going to happen to all of these Ukrainians who come into England and they get kicked out. And anyone that gets kicked out, that's it. You know, there's no plan for what's going to happen next. Because they can't be given a house in UK. They can't be given any flats. Because I know England, and I'm pretty sure that the waiting list in UK for flats or houses is over 2 years. I mean, I know single mothers with 2 kids who are staying in hotels waiting for a house to be given to them by the council, and they have been waiting for over 2 years. And it's really bad in UK. There's just not enough houses, and there's so many people out there who are unemployed, who are homeless, who can't make ends meet, who need a house and who need a property of their own. They can't afford rent. And there's like a 2-year waiting list for people who need houses, it's including a lot of single mothers with kids. And you cannot have a Ukrainian jump the queue. You cannot. The council cannot just give a house to a Ukrainian. It just doesn't work like that. So there's 2 options here. Either these Ukrainians will be sent to Rwanda which I probably think will happen, or I'm pretty sure a lot of these Ukrainians will come to UK. They'll be kicked out and they'll probably want to go back to Ukraine. That's probably what's going to happen. I'm not sure if they'll be allowed to go back to Ukraine. I'm not sure what's going to happen. But one thing I'm sure about is a lot of Ukrainians will end up homeless. And I'll put myself on the line here, on the firing line, and say probably half of those 6,000 applicants who are coming to UK, probably half of them will end up on the streets, homeless. And this is just this week, by the way, only 6,000 applicants which have applied so far and have been accepted. Don't forget, there is still a big waiting list of Ukrainians still to be arrived. They're giving numbers of up to 80,000 to 100,000 in total of the next few months. So that number could rise significantly. And even if half of those end up homeless in UK, that's a big number of Ukrainian people ending up homeless in UK. And it's not just UK. I'm pretty sure it's going to be happening all over Europe as well. Pretty sure that a lot of people are going to be fed up of Ukrainian refugees, and they'll be like, you know what, I'm not going to do any more favors now. I've realized that the government has lied to me. I don't want to keep any more Ukrainians in my house. And a lot of people will start waking up soon over the next few months, and you'll see a lot of Ukrainians on the streets. And yeah, so I'm not sure what will happen to them. Either they'll get sent to Rwanda or they'll just go back home to Ukraine. Either way, I'm pretty sure the British people are going to be sick of them. Now brings me to the second story of the day. So this one says British national killed in Ukraine. And it says here, a British national has been killed in Ukraine and a second is missing, the UK Foreign Office has said. And don't forget the 2 other British people who are held captive by the Russians as well. So there's 2 POWs in Russia as well. So that's 4 in total and 1 dead and 1 missing, obviously. And I'm just looking at this second line here. The Foreign Office spokesman said he was supporting the families of both people. So my question is, why is this guy supporting the families of both people? Why? Because they're not British servicemen that are being killed in British wars, are they? These are, mercenaries that have gone to Ukraine. And what the hell did they expect? Call of Duty or something? Did the families not expect that these mercenaries that go to Ukraine, fight the Russians, do they expect that they're going to come back alive? Did they expect this is going to be like Iraq or Afghanistan, where you can pot shot civilians from a distance and call yourself a sniper? Or play a computer game and, walk around the streets killing Russians? Is that what they think it was? I mean, what did these bloody families expect? And I just can't believe the Foreign Office spokesman said he's supporting the families of both people. Why is he supporting these families? If these mercenaries had gone to Iraq to fight British troops or British soldiers or American soldiers, what do you think that would happen then? These families would be victimized and they'd be kicked out of the country. Absolutely ridiculous. Can you see the double standards here? They're not even British servicemen. They're not even fighting for Britain. They're not even gone to war for Britain. And they are pretending like they're supporting the families of both these guys that got killed. Well, one of the guys that got killed, the other one's missing. You can presume he's dead anyway. Oh my god, this is absolutely ridiculous. And Liz Truss, you gotta blame Liz Truss for this, because she's the one that said, oh, it's okay for British servicemen to go and fight in Ukraine. And now the Foreign Office is looking after the families. This is absolute sickness. This is absolutely ridiculous. Out of taxpayers' money, they're looking after these families who, they know these guys have gone there as mercenaries. They're not gone there as UK nationals or UK soldiers. So I have just refreshed the page and this guy's face came up, and sounds like this guy's name is called Scott Sibley, and who is understood to have been fighting for Ukrainian forces. Obviously he's gone there to fight with the Ukrainian forces. Which other forces is going to go there and fight for? And I'm just looking at this and I just can't believe what it says here. And it says here, tributes have been paid online to Mr. Sibley, who is understood to be a former member of the British Armed Services. I don't understand why people are giving him tributes, to be honest, because who is he really gone there to fight for? He's not gone there to fight for the Ukrainians. He's not gone there to fight for the British. He's probably gone there to fight for Biden. He's gone there to fight for Stoltenberg. He's probably gone there to fight for Ursula. But he's not fighting for Britain. He's fighting for their lies and their propaganda. Americans and NATO is using every ounce of Ukrainian blood for this battle against Russia, this proxy war against Russia. Every ounce of Ukrainian blood. And now every ounce of mercenary blood as well. And then you got this. 3 former members of UK Special Forces were reportedly killed in March during Russian missile attack on a military training centre near the border with Poland. But this was never confirmed. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of British soldiers that are being killed or dying or dead that the British government has not reported yet. There could be a lot of British soldiers dead in Mariupol, in underground bunker. And the only reason the news hasn't come out yet because there's nobody to verify this information. There could be British soldiers being killed in Donbass, for example. And again, news from about his death has probably not reached Kiev. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot more British soldiers that are dying in Ukraine, except, because of the bombardment that Russia's doing and because of all of the soldiers who are being surrounded with no way out, no access to communication. Probably a lot more are dead and the news has not been reached yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot more British people who have died. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot more mercenaries from other countries who have died as well, from America, from Canada, all over the world that are stupid enough to go there, thinking that this will be another Iraq or Afghanistan where they can have pot shots firing at Russian civilians or soldiers from a distance. But they probably didn't expect Russian missiles to be falling on their heads. Probably did not expect that in Iraq, probably didn't expect that in Afghanistan, and certainly didn't expect that in Ukraine. And you can see here as well, in the early days of the war, Foreign Secretary Liz Truss said she supported individuals from UK who might want to go to Ukraine to fight, but the government has since advised against this. So obviously the blood is on Liz Truss's hand, and this woman could be the next Prime Minister as well. And you can see there's hundreds of former British soldiers have said that they wanted to go to Ukraine, and while others without a military background have travelled to offer support to the Ukrainians. So you can see there's hundreds and hundreds of British that have actually travelled, some former soldiers and some with no military background. Bunch of idiots, a lot of them, absolute idiots. Anyway, that's all I have time for today, guys. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you soon in the next video.